Welcome back to HPL. We're about to have the matchup between SjoW and Ostkaka start. And did you say something about a cakewalk?
Yeah, I did.
Doesn't Ostkaka literally mean cheesecake?
Yeah, everybody knows that. Everybody knows every language, and that's a totally normal thing to say. Game one's about to get underway here. Guys, get out there on Twitter, use that hashtag HPL, let everyone know who you're supporting, who you think is going to win this match, and what you think they're going to play. We talked about it before the match. I really think Ostkaka is going to avoid Freeze Mage in this matchup because SjoW is such a prominent Warrior player. Yeah,
Warrior is definitely not the matchup you want to see when you're playing Freeze Mage. Emperor Thorson has made the matchup a little bit better, a little bit stronger for you, but it's still not where you want to be in that matchup.
Yeah, having to fight through like 20 plus armor every single game that's a tough task for a deck that really has a limited supply of damage, to say the least. So maybe he's going to favor some mid-range strategies here, but again, Hunter, one of those best mid-range strategies, which is exactly what SjoW did in his first match. So playing mid-range strategies into that could spell a little bit of trouble here, and it just looks like a tough matchup on both sides because again, SjoW knows that probably knows that he's going to avoid something like Freeze Mage, so he has to consider now the dynamic that Ostkaka is bringing to the table. What is he going to play to throw you off here? Is he just going to play other control decks? Maybe he'll just play Freeze Mage because you're like, I don't need to play Warrior because he's just not going to play Freeze Mage, and then he throws it at you. I mean, anything can really happen going into this game one. There's no set lineups for these guys, and they can change anything they want about their decks between games.
Yeah, that's really going to be the story of this matchup is what are they going to play? Because Ostkaka is known for Freeze Mage, but as you said, he might not play it, and he's kind of an unknown coming into this tournament. He hasn't played yet in HPL. Now, SjoW has played and known as a control player, but he queued up Hunter was it four? I think it was four straight.
I mean, it might have been 4 times in a row.
It was at least 3 times in a row. It might have been 4 in his first match, so it's going to be interesting to see if he does that kind of strategy again and really throws a curveball.
Yeah, you guys can check it out over on pvplive.net, see exactly what SjoW played in his first match. But right now, we're getting into the game number 1 with SjoW versus Ostkaka.
You know what? We're going to see a mirror match here in game number 1. Both players have decided to queue up Druid.
Yeah, this is sort of traditionally in some of the other formats, like when players are more restricted on what they play, in like last Hero Standing or Conquest. Druid has typically been regarded as a very safe pick. So to see both of them play that in this first matchup, I think that's kind of what's going through both of their heads, is that I don't know exactly what my opponent's going to do. I'm just going to go with something that's very safe, and Druid is right up that alley.
Yeah, we're seeing wild growth in both Druid's hands, so this matchup might get moving very quickly.
Yeah, we're going to get the overlay fixed for you guys as quickly as we can. This is SjoW versus Ostkaka, and this is game 1. So as soon as that happens, we'll have that up for you. But like you said, 2 wild growths in both of these guys' opening hands. So, very good stuff from both these players. They're both expected to have a strong game. Now, I do have to say that SjoW's hand looks a little bit better moving forward because Ostkaka already has a copy of Force Nature and Savage Roar in his hand, and that big game Hunter not going to be useful until we see Dr. Boom.
Yeah, we're going to see Dr. Boom pretty early this game as well. These wild growths are going to power these players out very, very quickly. And you know what? One of the better turn 3 plays when you have 4 mana in Hearthstone in Piloted Shredder.
Yeah, Piloted Shredder is such a strong minion. Contests a lot of drops at this point. Also gives you that body that's going behind it. It's almost like improved Harvest Golem is what it was. Prior to this card being released, Harvest Golem was in so many decks. And since you have a stronger minion that fits the 4-drop, which is probably a little bit more of an important slot anyway, it's just perfect.
Yeah, where have you gone, Harvest Golem? I can't remember the last time I saw that card in
It's been quite a while. Last time I saw one, I think I hexed one.
I think it was just a 2-1 at the time,
Yeah,
too.
It certainly was. Great draw here for Ostkaka, by the way, now being able to fill out his curve a little bit. This is a big point for Druid, by the way. One of the reasons why it's so safe, if its early game doesn't get out of control, it's got a very dense amount of draws that are in its deck. A lot of 5 and 7 cost minions in here, and a couple 6 thrown in here and there. But it fills out its curve very well. It typically tends to maintain very high mana utilization throughout the course of the game.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how aggressive Ostkaka wants to be this turn since he already has Force of Nature Savage Roar in his hand. You got to believe getting in as much early damage as he can is where he wants to be.
Wow, that's exactly what he's going to do.
He's going to do. He's going to deal a full 8 to SjoW already, getting him down to 22. And as we know, he already has the combo in his hand. This game could be over quickly.
Yeah, I really like this play here from Ostkaka as well. SjoW going to go ahead and utilize what looks like a Savage Roar this turn, and I think this is fantastic. He's got a bunch of 7 drops to make sure he fills that after this. So this is really the one turn I think that he can leverage his life total and try to regain control of this board. Ostkaka doesn't have another drop after this, and that's exactly the kind of thing that SjoW's hoping for. So if he doesn't pick something up that's very strong here, this could spell a lot of trouble.
Yeah, and he doesn't. The only minions that he has left over here are not the best here when you have 6 mana. So you're going to see Ostkaka kind of not develop his board the way that he wants to here. and he's going to start to fall behind from SjoW here. Great play from SjoW last turn.
Yeah, something that he's thinking about going forward now is that he's so committed to this plan of dealing damage that Keeper of the Grove, effectively being a charge minion here with that just 2 damage to the face, I think is exactly where he wants to be. You know, he picked up Swipe, so he has that little bit of extra reach. He's already got Force Nature and Savage Roar in his hand. He has to follow through on this game plan, or frankly, things just won't work right.
Yeah, Innervate picked up for SjoW. It's probably a turn late for his liking. He would have been able to, have it last turn. He would have been able to play a 7-drop, and he might have seen his turn change up a little bit. But he can still coin into Dr. Boom here. He can still coin into Ancient of Lore here. So it's gonna be interesting to see what he does here. But you have to believe that in the back of his mind, he thinks that Ostkaka has some, if not all, of the combo in his hand already, since he's been so aggressive this game.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, the way he's played it has very much signaled it right now. And Ostkaka actually, both of his Innervates right now will outright win the game. He'll have 9 mana to play both of those cards. So this is a pretty important draw. Doesn't get exactly what he wants, but he has Big Game Hunter, and that Piloted Shredder is going to fill out his curve perfectly afterwards. This is a lot of pressure that's coming from him here, and showing you exactly the kind of dynamic that develops when you're having an aggressive player versus someone that maybe is trying to control the board a little bit more. SjoW didn't have all these options of whether or not he wanted to be aggressive or defensive. His curve was pretty much set in stone, and he's the one who's been having to be the reactive player right now. And as a result, I gotta believe he's at a big disadvantage.
Yeah, he seems to be at a big disadvantage. Ostkaka's draw is great this game, and he's gonna. That was a big draw, getting a Piloted Shredder this turn. He can really advance his board if he wants to.
Yeah, making sure that he's playing minions after he attacks the Boombot too. Doesn't want these minions to, be at risk of dying to that card. So Big Game Hunter, very big swing on the board right now. SjoW has got to do something to get this board back under control, and Wrath just might be the draw to do it.
Yeah, he's going to be able to Ancient of Lore and Innervate into a Wrath this turn if he wants to. He's going to be able to gain 5 life if he wants. He's going to be able to draw extra 2 cards. You got to believe that depending on what this Boombot does. Ooh, I thought it was going to hit that. Ooh, that's a lot of extra damage.
Flame Tongue Totem actually is, still not the worst thing here for Ostkaka. He needs 2 more points of damage here to actually squeeze through a direct win. And SjoW just going to draw cards here, not afraid of the fact that he's getting a little bit lower on life here. Innervate will still close the game here for Ostkaka, but Wrath is going to make sure that this 6/2 minion's taken care of.
Now, as we said, SjoW is at 16. That's not a very high life total when your opponent already has the combo and has a Swipe in their hand, so he's got a lot of ways to deal a ton of damage this game.
Yeah, something that's actually kind of interesting here now is that because he has this Flame Tongue Totem on the board, Harrison Jones is a weird minion to draw. It's going to put it in Big Game Hunter range. So either way, it's a minion that is, is putting SjoW or pressure on SjoW to have to deal with. But the fact that it's opened up to that one extra way to deal with it, I think is what's kind of driving his thought here. Like, maybe he's not as comfortable as he would have been in a normal situation.
Yeah, I mean, what is the actual play that you make here? Yeah, I think you're going to have to swipe this Ancient of Lore.
Yeah, he's going to rely on the fact that he's got this Flame Tongue Totem out to deliver the extra damage he needs next turn. And in the meantime, he's going to clean things up. So he's going to yield initiative to SjoW, but he's going to hope that SjoW doesn't have exactly what it takes to put him out of range of this Force Nature Savage Roar. And look at that, Sludge Belcher. I mean, could be pretty close to a perfect draw at this point.
Yeah, Sludge Belcher is a pretty big draw here if he wants to go on the defensive and play around Force of Nature here. And that's, as you said, it's a pretty good draw this turn.
So a lot of different options from him. I mean, he could also, he could silence, take out that totem, from so that way he's not going to be liable to Force Nature Savage Roar after that. He would live at 1, which is the most comfortable life total. So yeah, he's going to take it. He's
actually going to deal 2 damage to it and use his hero power here because it would still get the buff from Savage Roar itself
Oh,
and actually be able to attack.
You're absolutely right. So that actually is a big point. I forgot about the 2 extra damage the Flame Tongue Totem is going to get. 0 power minions can attack when you buff them.
So yeah, SjoW goes up to 16 here. Ostkaka not going to be able to combo him out this turn.
Yeah, but he is going to get initiative on the board now with this Harrison Jones. He could Wrath and Hero Power out this Keeper of the Grove, or he could just choose to draw a card from it. I think both of these options are totally reasonable.
It looks like he's going to draw an extra card from this, and he needed that Innervate. Yeah. Just 1 or 2 turns earlier, and this game would have been over. Instead, Ostkaka is still searching for 1 or 2 more points of damage to get through here and finish this game off with Force of Nature Savage Roar. It's going to be the onus is on SjoW now to be defensive, gain life, do something this turn to keep himself from dying from this combo.
Yeah. This window of opportunity has kind of been open for Ostkaka for a while now too. I mean, he's been hunting for it pretty diligently, and I have to believe that Sludge Belcher could be enough to shut this off. Actually, let's take a look at the damage here. So, yeah, I mean, gonna have to overkill the Sludge Belcher kind of any way you put it. Ancient of Lore is a great draw right now. Standing proud exactly how big of a draw he is over there on that side.
Yeah, this happens sometimes on a spectator client when they play a card very quickly out of their hand. It kind of goes over the turn button. on the board, and it'll sit there for a minute, but it usually works itself out in a couple seconds.
We've actually hit a little bit of a bug here in the spectator client. In order to get this view back up, I think from Ostkaka's side, we're going to have to maybe disconnect from this and get it back up. We'll have SjoW's side of this, of course. So Ostkaka's side of this out of our view right now. We can't see exactly what happened. We can see that he used Innervate and drew Sludge Belcher off of this as well. But for now, we're going to have to stick to SjoW's point of view to make sure that we can see exactly what's happening in the game.
Yeah, were his draws exactly Sludge Belcher Innervate off the...
Well, he had the Innervate in his hand, so we knew he drew Sludge Belcher, but he does have now one unknown card sitting in his hand.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, SjoW is still on the back foot here. He's only at 15. He can go up to 20 if he wants this turn, or gain some armor if he wants, but...
I mean, this is potentially a combo turn, too. I mean, I don't think there's anything wrong with using Force Nature Savage Roar in this kind of position.
Yeah, he can deal a ton of damage and clean a ton of the minions up on Ostkaka's side of the board.
Having to take his time, though. Make sure he counts through everything. I mean, the conclusion to me looks like Force Nature Savage Roar, because he has to get this board under control. This is not an option for him. Something has to be done.
You've seen him play the entire game like he knows he's very close to death.
Yeah.
Every turn. Yeah, no really clean attacks on the Sludge Belcher here, though. I mean, he's going to get to Innervate and Hero Power if he wants here, but he's not going to. He's going to save the Innervate possibly for the turn with Ancient of Lore. Yeah,
so it looks like Ostkaka actually did draw a second copy of Innervate as well. We've got his speed back up on our side. Look at that Mana Wraith. A lot of times that can affect the way that players have to play some of their minions in play. Always something they want to consider when they're using those Piloted Shredder trades. But, I mean, this is a beautiful minion to pick up right now. This might force SjoW's entire board to trade into a Sylvanas here.
Yeah, as you said, huge draw here from Ostkaka. One of the better minions that he could draw in his deck. And, yeah, he just solved the combo out of SjoW, and he's at 19 life, so you have to believe that in the back of his mind he thinks that he's safe from something like that over the next turn or two. So again, he's just searching to get through 1 or 2 more extra points so he can finish him off with Force of Nature Savage Roar.
Yeah, actually not going to attack the slime here as well, so not setting it up to potentially die to Hero Power next turn. And now SjoW, again, once again, he's in sort of these weird situations where he's having to make inefficient plays to make sure he's safe from everything that's going on. Oh, he's got Innervate for the Druid Claw too. Okay, I was like, oh no, he's gonna draw cards and put himself in range. So Taunt here is gonna make sure that he's safe from everything, and Ostkaka does not have an answer to this right now.
Great draw from SjoW here. Now he's actually the one out ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to say, short of something like Black Knight or a Silence, this board is going to very quickly start growing out of control. And in this position, I have to believe that maybe Force Nature Savage Roar is what he's going to use to try to get back that control. But if he does that, how does he actually win the game afterwards?
Yeah, it's going to be really hard for him to win the game through this Emperor Thaurissan that SjoW's going to have his hand. SjoW's going to be able to draw extra cards off of his Wild Growth and his Wrath and have a threat in Emperor Thaurissan. So he has turned this game around a ton here over the last 2 turns. Through turns 6, 7, and 8, we really thought he was going to lose if Ostkaka ever got an extra point of damage in, but you saw SjoW utilize all of his mana every turn and just make some really smart heads-up plays that just barely kept him in the game, kept him drawing extra cards, and you know what? It's paying for him, and now he's in the lead.
Yeah, second big game hunter here drawn by Ostkaka. You could see that he obviously had control in mind as well going into this matchup. SjoW, of course, could have very easily played something like Handlock, could have very easily played Control Warrior. So those normally, in those kinds of situations, very much a strong card. But staring down this kind of board, this is one of the worst draws that's left in his deck.
Yeah, it had to be quite possibly the worst card left in his deck. Wild Growth, he could at least cycle and get another card. I don't know of a card I wouldn't rather have than Big Game Hunter here, but you know what? You do what you got to do here. And Ostkaka still searching for a way to win this game from this spot, and he's not going to use his Force of Nature here.
Yeah, kind of falling off at the end game with his mana and SjoW. That's got to be a great sight from him at this point. Picks up Sylvanas to go with both of the, with that Emperor Thaurissan. So now he's also got options for which minion he wants to play.
He's going to get to play Wild Growth here, drawing him an extra card with his excess mana. He's going to be able to Wrath away this Big Game Hunter if he feels it's necessary and still play one of the 2/6 drops in his hand. Very clean and efficient turn from SjoW, and you've got to feel that he's a huge favorite from here.
Yeah, I mean, I can't think of a single draw. I mean, I guess Savage Roar is what Ostkaka could draw to win this game. It'd be 12, you have 16 damage to back that up. So, I mean, outside of a second Savage Roar, this is going to spell pretty much the end for Ostkaka.
He needs exactly Savage Roar here.
Yep. Other than that, it's just too much damage. You know, if he drew something like Black Knight, he could still live for a turn as well, but SjoW would have draws after that, so this is a really big moment here. And that is not enough. He's staring down too much damage on the board, and outside of using combo, there's no way he can stay alive.
Yeah, he's 1 mana short of being able to play everything in his hand. It looks like Ostkaka is going to fall here in the first game. SjoW with a great comeback here in this game. And we saw that in his first match too. There were a lot of games where he fell behind early, but he kept making the correct plays, got a couple fortunate draws, and you know what? He came out victorious in those games.
You know, Ostkaka can still live here, actually. He can use Force of Nature just to clear what's going on here, and then play Keeper of the Grove, maybe push through a couple points of damage, and you know, hope that he draws another Force of Nature next turn. He's actually not completely out of this yet. I mean, he's sitting at 12. I mean, SjoW's 1 damage off lethal with just what's happening on the board right now. So he actually might need to draw something here. Ostkaka's still in this game.
What a back and forth game between the two Druid players here. And SjoW is going to get to play a lot of things this turn thanks to Emperor Thorson. He's going to get to play 2 minions if he wants to and use his hero power, so it's getting him a lot of extra mana.
You saw the SjoW shake his head a little bit here. He knows that he's still dead to his second Force of Nature at this point. He's got to believe that Ostkaka has a Savage Roar in his hand with how long it's been sitting there and the way this game has panned out. I mean, he doesn't have the damage to kill him. It's really, I mean, it's up to fate to decide at this point. That has to kill this minion, doesn't really have a choice.
Yeah, he can't take the extra damage from this Keeper of the Grove here. Yeah, and so it's up to Ostkaka to draw Force of Nature here.
Wow, this draw is gonna be it. This is a very big moment for Ostkaka right now. A single card in his deck that can still win the game.
Is he gonna draw it?
Doesn't pick it up. Instead, it was Emperor Thorson. That's gonna do game 1. SjoW. Wow, such a nail biter the entire step of the way. I mean, it looked like points that SjoW was going to be completely out of it, but Ostkaka was just 1 or 2 damage short of being able to get the job done. And then even at the very end, after SjoW had completely taken over the board, still the potential for him to lose after that. You don't see that happen very often, ever.
Yeah, what a game, what a back and forth game so far. The two Druid players going back and forth, and he was 1 to 2 damage off every single turn, couldn't get the last damage through, couldn't find a way through a Sludge Belcher at the end there to finish it off, and then he still had a draw to win the game there at the end. What a great game played on both sides.
Yeah, very aggressive start from Ostkaka as well. I like the way that he started that game, understood his game plan very early on because he had both Force Nature and Savage Roar. So I like the fact that he wasn't fighting as much for value as he was pushing for damage. I think that was his best chance to win that game, but unfortunately, just coming up a bit short. A lot of trading going on. Again, very back and forth game. That's one of the best ones I think I've seen in a while.
Yeah, absolutely. It was a great game by SjoW. We've seen this in matches with him before. He falls behind early, doesn't panic, plays well, gets himself in a situation to draw the right cards he needs, draws them, and then wins from there.
Yeah, when we come back, it's going to be game 2, SjoW versus Ostkaka. They're making any changes they want to their deck or their class right now. And when we come back, we're going to find out whether or not the series is going to get tied up or whether or not SjoW is going to go up 2-0. You're watching Hearthstone on PvP Live.